This is a 2002 Mercury Sable I bought recently. I haven't come up with a name for this car yet, as I usually name every car that I purchase. Usually how I name a car is I use a random Japanese word that I happen to know that fully describes a certain feature of that car. For example, the first car I had was a 2006 Nissan Altima. I called it Nami because Nami means wave and waves are blue. It wasn't really that original of a name, to be honest, but I did get a little bit more creative with the naming after the second car I bought. The second car I bought was a 2005 Kia Sedona. At first I was going to name it Nagareboshi, which means shooting star, but then it caught on fire, and so I decided to change its name to Shikabane, which means corpse. Because, it died of a horrible fiery death, so of course that was the perfect name for it. The third car I got was a 2005 Volvo S40. I named that one Yaiba, which means blade, because like a blade, it was always cutting a hole into my pocket. My wallet. Every week I was bringing that car to a place to get it repaired because it was always needing something. The battery died, so I replaced the battery, but then the alternator was bad, so I replaced the alternator, but I was still getting a message on the dashboard for power from the battery, which was causing the check engine light to come on. And I'm like, what do you want from me? I changed the battery and the alternator. What more could you possibly need? Like, how much money do I have to spend before you're satisfied? So, needless to say, I didn't like that car too much. It was very expensive and always needing something. And there were a few repairs that it needed that I just couldn't afford. It needed a variable valve timing hub assembly and a timing belt, which altogether would have cost $1,500. It needed 2 catalytic converters, one of which cost $1,600. Try to process that for a second. A car that I paid $2,600 for needs 2 car parts that cost $1,600 each. That's $3,200, a few $100s more than I spent on the car in the first place. So it didn't really seem like it was worth the trouble it was causing. But that's not really why I got rid of it, as it was still driving. I was basically planning on driving it until it broke down to a point where it could not be driven anymore. And that point happened a few weeks ago. What caused it was it overheated because it had an antifreeze leak. Now, I was aware of this leak for quite some time, but it wasn't so bad at first, as I was just adding more coolant to replace what had been lost. But as I found out later, that is a very stupid idea. If you have any kind of leak, you should fix it right away. As it turns out, any leak a car has is always going to get worse over time. So at first, I was just adding more coolant to replace what was being lost, but it got to a point where it was losing coolant so fast, I couldn't add enough to keep up with it, and that was how the car ended up overheating. Ironically enough, it overheated as I was on my way to buy more antifreeze for it. So anyway, we're going to talk about the features this car has. It's actually one of my favorite cars that I've ever purchased. My second favorite car that I've purchased, actually, the Nissan Altima being on the top of that list. Okay, before I start this review, I'd just like to point out that your bank account is probably not as secure as you would think. You see, using my debit card, I paid for this entire car $1,300. I also bought insurance for it for $45 and a battery for $135. But I never received a call asking to confirm that I made these purchases. So apparently, assuming the money was in your account, someone else could take your credit card and buy a car with it, and you wouldn't know about it until you open your account and realize you're missing a couple $1,000s. So just be mindful of that. Anyway, this car has a feature that no other car I've ever purchased had, and it's a feature that I really like. In fact, it's probably my favorite feature in this car. The ability to enter it using a password. You see, on the driver's side door, there are 4 buttons. If you press them in the right order, it unlocks the door. And the security key for that password is actually located in the glove compartment. It says so in the manual. And I've actually used it, and it does work for this car. Let me show you why this can be very useful, though. Oh no, I accidentally locked my keys in the car. If only there was a way that I could get into the car without the keys. Oh, there is. All I have to do is just press this password and the door opens. One thing I like about this car is that it has a working sunroof. This car has an old-fashioned antenna that protrudes from the body. Now, I'm not really sure if that's necessarily a bad thing, however, it's probably prone to damage. However, I did manage to go through an automatic car wash without breaking it. I read somewhere, though, that you should be careful of those kinds of things, though, as automatic car washes have a tendency to break parts off of certain cars. They're designed for an average car, and they might not be able to properly wash your car without hitting something, as every car is shaped differently. If you have long legs like I do, you'll really appreciate this car as it has a very roomy interior with plenty of leg room. I'm not sure why, but for some reason there's a button marked CD on the radio. So far I have yet to find a CD player, as marked by this short video of me actually trying to find a place to insert a disc. Well, I don't see a CD player. Why does it say CD if there's no CD player? Doesn't appear to be anywhere where I can place a disc. No, there's definitely not one down there. No, that's not a CD player, I don't think. Oh, no, it's not. It's a pocket. There's not one under here. Nope. Okay, I think it's safe to say that there is no CD player. Yeah. Okay. When you unlock the car, the marker lights light up, as well as the interior lights. And they turn off after a few seconds. The car is equipped with a climate control system. You can set whatever temperature you want, and the heater automatically heats the interior to that temperature, or cools it to that temperature if you're using the air conditioner. Also, if you want to set the clock, press the H button to set the hour, and the M button to set the minute, which is literally the easiest way to set the clock that I've ever seen in a car. As you can see, it also has a tape player. If you want to listen to music through your phone and you don't have Bluetooth, a good option is to use something called an audio cassette adapter. Basically, it's a tape that goes into the tape player, with the cord sticking out of it that plugs into the audio jack of your phone, and it actually plays the sound through the tape and into your stereo. One thing I have noticed, though, if you're listening to music through your phone and there's a long pause in audio, for example, when the phone is switching from one song to the next, it'll stop going to tape and instead it'll say seek. And during this time, there will be no sound. To fix that, obviously, I just press the tape button and switch it back to tape. It's a pretty difficult thing to do while you're driving, though, so that's one issue I have with a tape player. Here we have the fuel gauge, the antifreeze temperature gauge, the speedometer, the odometer, the indicator for which gear you're in, the tachometer, and the four-way flashers. Or, I mean, well, some people call them hazard lights. And the lever that selects the gear. Here we have the power mirrors, the headlights, the power locks, the power windows, the window locks, so you can prevent other people from opening the windows, the button for opening the trunk, the lever for releasing the parking brake, and the lever for opening the trunk, as well as the pedal for the parking brake. This car has one of those old parking brakes where you push a pedal to apply and pull on it to release, while other cars I've had a different type of parking brake that was operated by a lever. Here we have the turn signal switch and the windshield wiper controls. The car is equipped with 2 cigarette lighters. The buttons on the far left and far right on the ceiling control the dome lights for the front seat. The button in the middle controls the sunroof. As you can see, the car also has a working sunroof. Not much of a point of using it right now because it's winter time and it's really cold out. But yeah, this button controls the sunroof, and these control the lights, obviously. There's also a light in the rear of the vehicle. And there's a switch right here. If you move it all the way up, it turns on all the lights in the vehicle. It also controls the brightness of the dashboard when you turn the lights on. Can't see it right now, obviously, because it's daytime. The heat is very good in this car right now. You can actually set the temperature in this. It has a thermostat. Right now I have it set to 75 degrees. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention, it's also equipped with a compass located on the rear view mirror. Now let's see how the car drives. I think this car might need some more power steering fluid, because the steering wheel is making a growling sound when I turn it. And when I read online, they said that when the steering wheel makes that sound, it usually means you need more power steering fluid. Or that you have a power steering fluid leak. I really hope it's not that one.